"Please don't take my child away," begged the poor widow, her voice breaking as the sound echoed through the dusty street of the frontier town, her knees sinking into the dirt as if the earth itself might shield her from the cruelty pressing down on her heart. The rope binding her wrists burned against her skin, but it was not the pain of rope she felt most deeply. It was the pain of watching a rough-handed man drag her little girl away, her daughter's tiny arms flailing desperately as she cried for her mother. Onlookers whispered behind hats and shawls, yet no one dared to intervene, for the man taking the child was no stranger. He was a wealthy ranch owner, powerful and feared, a man who claimed debts could be paid with more than money. And this widow, who had buried her husband only months before after a fever took him, had no money, no land, and nothing left but her child. She had already begged for mercy from the townsfolk, but all turned away, too afraid of the rancher's wrath. Her tears stained the dust beneath her, her cries piercing through the tense silence. Yet amid the fear, amid the hopelessness, there was movement, slow, steady, and deliberate. A tall rancher stepped forward from the crowd, his face carved with silence, his eyes shadowed by the brim of a worn hat. He was known in town, but known for little. He rarely spoke, kept to himself, and worked his cattle on the outskirts of the valley. Some called him the Silent Rancher, others simply called him a ghost of the plains. Yet as he walked forward, boots grinding against the dirt, the murmur of the crowd grew. His presence was commanding, though no word left his mouth, and every step he took seemed to push against the cruelty unfolding before him. The widow looked up through her tears, hardly believing that someone, anyone, might stand with her. The child cried out, "Mama!" as the rancher's shadow fell between the widow and the man who dragged the girl. The rancher didn't speak, but his hand shifted to the holster at his hip, fingers brushing against the worn leather of his revolver. The crowd held its breath, for though he was silent, the message was clear. No child would be taken today, not while he stood there. The cruel ranch owner sneered, his grip tightening on the girl, and barked, "This ain't your fight. Step aside, cowboy, unless you're looking to lose more than your cattle." Still, the silent rancher did not speak. He only straightened, his jaw set like stone, his gaze sharp as a hawk. The widow's sobs quieted, her hope flickering like a candle in the night. Then, with a speed that startled even the bravest of men, the rancher's hand drew his revolver, the steel gleaming in the sun, and aimed it squarely at the oppressor's chest. The silence became heavier than thunder, and for a long, breathless moment, time itself seemed to pause. The cruel man's grip on the child loosened, his face paling, for though he had power, he had no courage to match the fire burning in the silent rancher's eyes. The girl ran free, stumbling back into her mother's arms, the widow clutching her with trembling hands, whispering prayers of gratitude through tears. The silent rancher did not smile, nor did he boast. He simply lowered his gun, returning it to his holster, and gave a single nod to the widow as if to say, "You and your child are safe now." The crowd erupted with whispers, some in awe, others in relief, for they had witnessed something they had not seen in years: justice. The cruel ranch owner, humiliated, backed away, spitting curses but unwilling to challenge the silent strength before him. The widow clung to her child, her sobs now mixed with cries of joy, and she whispered, "Thank you. Oh, thank you." But the silent rancher said nothing. He only turned, walking away down the dusty street, his figure fading into the horizon as the sun set behind him. His silence was his answer, his actions his voice. And in that silence the town realized something powerful. A single act of courage could break the chains of fear that had bound them for so long. The widow's cries became a testimony, her child's laughter a song of freedom. And though the rancher returned to his quiet life, his name would be remembered, not as a man of many words, but as a man whose silence roared louder than any threat. The story of the silent rancher spread across the plains, carried on winds and whispers, reminding people that even in their darkest hour, there is always a chance that someone will rise, not with promises but with action. And as for the widow, she raised her child with the memory of that day burned forever in her heart, teaching her that heroes do not always speak, they simply stand when no one else will. So, dear viewers, if this story stirred something in your heart, if it made you believe again in courage, sacrifice, and hope, then don't let it end here. Subscribe to our channel and join us for more stories of love, struggle, and heroes who step forward when the world needs them most. Every subscription helps us bring more powerful tales to life. Stories that remind us all that even in silence there is strength.